Hello everyone. Today you're standing in Babylon, the greatest city of the ancient world. The year is 539 BC. If you enjoyed this journey, like the video, subscribe to Step into History, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next city.
You're standing inside the southern palace of Babylon on the night of October 12th, 539 BC, and the most impregnable city in the ancient world is about to fall. Not through the walls, through the river. The walls of Babylon are 20 meters thick, not at one point, everywhere. The outer fortification is a double barrier of baked brick and unbaked brick filled with compacted earth between them, wide enough for 2 chariots to pass each other at full gallop on top. 350 watchtowers, a moat. The city has grain stores calculated according to Xenophon for more than 20 years of siege. Every general who has looked at Babylon and considered taking it by force has come to the same conclusion and turned away. The man who's going to take it tonight is not going through the walls. He is going through the floor. The Euphrates River runs directly through the center of Babylon, entering from the north under a grated iron portcullis, dividing the city, exiting south under another. Right now, upstream, the engineers of Cyrus the Great of Persia have been diverting the Euphrates for weeks into an artificial basin cut into the desert. The river is dropping. The iron grates at the city's water gates hang in increasingly empty air. In a few hours, the water level will be low enough for a soldier to wade in, crouch under the iron bars, and walk into the city along the riverbed. The gates along the quay will be open. They're always open during a festival. And tonight, inside this palace, behind walls that no army has ever breached, 1,000 of Babylon's nobles are at a feast. They do not know any of this. Neither do you. Walk through the palace while the banquet noise fills the courtyards. The southern palace of Nebuchadnezzar II is not a building. It is a city within a city. 250 rooms spread across 5 courtyards, each one leading to the next through monumental gates decorated in glazed brick. The king who built this place recorded what he used in his own words, inscribed on clay cylinders buried in the foundation corners of every room. Baked brick and bitumen for the walls, cedar from Lebanon for the roofs, cypress and fir for the doors, silver and gold and precious stones for the interior. Everything that could be imagined of costliness and splendor heaped up within it. He was not modest about what he had made. He had made the greatest palace in the world, and he knew it. The smell hits you before the noise does. Bitumen first, the black petroleum tar that the Babylonians use as mortar, mixed into every wall of this building. Its thick mineral smell embedded so deeply in the brick that it never fully dissipates. A smell older and darker than wood smoke, something like the earth itself being slowly burned. Under the bitumen, cedar. The roof beams of the main audience hall came from the forests of Lebanon, 3,000 kilometers northwest, floated down the coast and carried overland to this plateau on the Euphrates. And the resin of them releases slowly into the dry Mesopotamian air every morning and evening when the temperature changes. And cutting through both of those, from the direction of the great courtyard, where the feast is already underway, cooked meat and spilled wine and the smoke of torches, the smell of 1,000 people celebrating in an enclosed space, the warmth of it pressing out through the doorway into the cooler air of the corridor. Stop at the entrance to the throne room. Look at the wall in front of you. The facade of the throne room is 56 meters wide, covered entirely in glazed brick in colors that still stop visitors cold. Cobalt blue background, deeper than lapis. A blue that the ancient Mesopotamians achieved by firing copper compounds into the brick at precise temperatures. A blue that in this part of the world means divine protection, means royalty, means this wall is not an ordinary wall. Against that blue, yellow palmettes, stylized palm trees rendered in geometric precision rising in columns. And at the base of the wall, at eye level, a frieze of lions. Not representations of lions. Lions, each one over a meter tall, striding left to right in procession. White bodies with yellow manes, their muscles precise, their movement caught in a moment of pure forward intention. Nebuchadnezzar had his craftsmen make them from molds, pressed clay bricks fired and glazed in sequence, assembled like the world's most extraordinary mosaic. Each lion built from dozens of individual bricks, so perfectly matched that the joints are nearly invisible.
Hello again. If you've made it this far, subscribing to my channel, Step into History, really helps me. Now, let's continue where we left off.
In the torchlight of the corridor, as you stand here, the yellow manes of the lions catch the flame and seem to flicker. The lions appear to breathe. Nebuchadnezzar built this palace in the early years of his reign, when he was still the commander of his father's armies, still the son of Nabopolassar, still young enough to believe that what he built would stand forever. He rebuilt it again in the middle of his reign when he needed more space. He added the summer palace to the north when the heat of the Mesopotamian plain became intolerable. He surrounded the whole complex with new outer walls. He rebuilt the Ishtar Gate, the great northern entrance to the city. In glazed blue brick, 56 dragon and bull reliefs, alternating in rows up its face. Its inscription carved in white and blue cuneiform across its surface. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, son of Nabopolassar, king of Babylon. I am. He's not here tonight. He died 23 years ago. 3 kings came after him in quick succession, each one weaker than the last, each one removed faster. The man on the throne tonight is not even a king by Babylonian religious law. His name is Belshazzar, and he is the son of Nabonidus, the actual king, who's been living in an oasis in Arabia for 10 years because he prefers the moon god Sin to Marduk and finds the priests of Marduk intolerable. Without the king physically present to perform the Akitu festival, the New Year ceremony in which the king takes the hand of the god Marduk and is thereby renewed as legitimate ruler, the festival has been cancelled for a decade. The priests are furious. The city is spiritually adrift, and Belshazzar, co-regent in his father's permanent absence, is holding a feast. This is the detail that explains everything else. A king who neglects Marduk does not have Marduk's protection. A city whose priests are angry at its ruler does not have priests who will die to defend it. When Cyrus's army reached Babylon's walls weeks ago, the priests of Marduk did not call the city to resistance. They opened the gates along the quay and sent a letter to Cyrus explaining that Marduk himself had chosen him as the rightful king of Babylon. Marduk apparently had looked at Nabonidus and found him wanting. Inside the great courtyard, the feast is at its height. Walk to the doorway and stop there. Belshazzar is at the center of the room on a raised platform, surrounded by his lords and their wives and his concubines. 1,000 people, Herodotus will estimate, and Herodotus has a tendency to round upward, but the number is not impossible in a courtyard this size. He is 25 years old, dark-haired, heavy-featured in the way of the Babylonian royal line, wearing the conical crown of the co-regent rather than the full royal tiara. That right was reserved for his absent father. He has been drinking since the 2nd hour. It is now past the 10th. What he has done at this feast is the thing that will be recorded in every tradition that touches this night. He has called for the vessels of the temple, not just any vessels, the gold and silver cups and bowls taken from the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem 47 years ago, when Nebuchadnezzar sacked the city and carried the Judeans into captivity. Sacred objects, temple objects, objects that the Jews believe were made for the service of their God, specifically dedicated to him, specifically not to be touched by any hand that was not consecrated for the purpose. They are here tonight on the tables of this feast. Babylonian wine is being poured into the vessels of the Jerusalem temple, and Belshazzar and his guests are drinking from them and praising the gods of gold and silver and bronze and iron and wood and stone. The Judean exiles in Babylon know this is happening. They have known since the cups were first brought out. They are watching from the edges of the room with a particular expression of people witnessing a catastrophe that has not yet landed. A man named Daniel is among them. He is old now, in his 80s, brought to Babylon as a young man when Nebuchadnezzar first took Jerusalem. He has served in the Babylonian court for his entire adult life, interpreting dreams, reading signs, navigating the politics of 4 successive kings with a fluency that has kept him alive through changes that killed men far more powerful than him. He's watching the cups circulate. His face is calm. He's been waiting for something like this for a long time. Then the hand appears. This is the detail. This is the thing that the Babylonian Chronicle does not record. It records facts, troop movements, the fall of cities, but that every tradition surrounding this night agrees on in its essential shape. Something appears on the plaster wall opposite the lampstand in the courtyard in the full light of the torches and writes 4 words, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. The feast stops. The room goes quiet in a way that a room of 1,000 people almost never goes quiet. Not gradually, not starting from one point and spreading, but all at once, as if the silence was a thing that entered the space rather than an absence of sound. Belshazzar's face, according to Daniel's account, went pale. His knees knocked together. His legs gave way. He's 25 years old, and he has just watched a disembodied hand right on the wall of his palace, and he cannot read what it says, because the script is not Babylonian. He calls for his wise men. They cannot read it either. His mother, Nabonidus's queen, the woman who has been managing this court in the king's decade-long absence, comes in and tells him there is a Judean in the palace who can interpret signs. Daniel is brought forward. He reads the 4 words without ceremony. He does not beg or negotiate or soften the message. He simply translates, Mene, numbered. God has numbered your kingdom and brought it to an end. Tekel, weighed. You've been weighed in the balance and found wanting. Upharsin, divided. Your kingdom will be given to the Medes and Persians. Belshazzar, to his credit, does not deny it. He orders the purple robe brought and the gold chain, and declares Daniel the 3rd highest official in the kingdom, the highest gift a co-regent can give, the highest position below himself and his absent father. He does this formally, publicly, in front of a room that has gone completely still. Then he goes back to the feast. What else is there to do? Outside in the dark, the river is dropping. The smell of the Euphrates at low water is different from its smell in flood. In flood, the river smells of distant mountains, the snowmelt from the Zagros and Taurus ranges, cold and mineral and slightly sweet. At low water, the smell is the plain itself, mud baking in the October heat, reeds beginning to smell of rot at the waterline, the bottom of the river exposed in places. its black silt drying to a gray crust. Cyrus's soldiers are entering the river. They wade upstream from where the diversion has lowered the water level, moving in silence along the eastern bank. Staying low, the iron grates at the city's water gates are hanging 3 feet above their heads. They duck under them. They walk on the riverbed between the stone quays of Babylon. The gates along the quay are open. They have been open all night, as they always are during festivals, so that the barges can come and go with supplies, so the city can breathe. Nobody closes them. Nobody has ever needed to close them. The city is inside its walls. Its walls have never been breached. Its grain stores will last 20 years. There is nothing to fear from a river that runs through the middle of the city, a river that Babylon has lived beside and depended on for 2,000 years, a river that is as much a part of the city as the streets or the temples. The soldiers move through the gates. They move through the lower city in silence, past the houses where the Babylonians are sleeping, past the temples where the priests of Marduk are performing the night sacrifice. The priests know they are there. The priests step back. No alarm is raised. At the palace walls, guards notice something. By then, it is too late. The Nabonidus Chronicle, a clay tablet found in the ruins of Babylon in the 19th century, written in Akkadian cuneiform, now in the British Museum, records the fall of this city in one line. In the month of Tashritu, on the 14th day, Ugbaru, governor of Gutium, and the army of Cyrus entered Babylon without a battle. Without a battle. A city of walls 20 meters thick, grain for 20 years, 350 watchtowers. Without a battle. Belshazzar was killed that night. The sources disagree on when exactly, whether during the entry or after, whether he fought or simply could not escape. His father, Nabonidus, coming back from Arabia finally, was captured and allowed to live in exile in Carmania. The kingship of Babylon passed to Cyrus without the city being looted, without a single temple being damaged, without a single statue of a god being removed from its sanctuary. Cyrus walked into Marduk's temple 17 days later and took the hand of the god. He became the legitimate king of Babylon in the only way Babylonian theology recognized. Then he did something no conqueror before him had done. He released the exiles. All of them, not just the Jews. Every people Nebuchadnezzar had deported and settled in Babylon over 47 years of conquest. He sent them home. He sent back their sacred objects. He sent back the vessels of the Jerusalem temple, the gold and silver cups that had been on the feast tables of Belshazzar the night the hand wrote on the wall. He recorded all of this on a clay cylinder buried beneath the floor of Marduk's temple, written in Akkadian cuneiform in the voice of a king explaining himself to history. It is known as the Cyrus cylinder. It was found in 1879. It is in the British Museum. It is often called the first declaration of human rights in recorded history. The lions on the throne room wall are still there this morning, striding left to right, white bodies, yellow manes. The torchlight that made them breathe is gone now, replaced by the flat gray of an October dawn coming through the open gates. Nebuchadnezzar wrote in his cylinders, "I tore down its walls of dried brick and laid its cornerstone bare, and reached the depth of the waters. Facing the water, I laid its foundation firmly and raised it mountain high with bitumen and burnt brick." He raised it mountain high, and then a king who had been living in an oasis decided that Marduk wasn't his god, and the priests opened the gates and the river did the rest. The blue lions face the empty throne room. Their eyes have not moved. They have been watching this space since Nebuchadnezzar built it, and they will keep watching it long after the last Persian soldiers walked out the gate, through the conquests of Alexander, through the slow abandonment of the city over the following centuries, through the arrival of German archaeologists in 1899, who will excavate the lions from 18 centuries of accumulated earth, pack them in straw inside coal barrels to disguise them from Ottoman customs officials, float them down this same Euphrates River, and reassemble them in Berlin, where you can stand in front of them today. 118 of the original 120. 2 remain in Iraq. The throne room is empty now. The feast is over. The river runs lower than it did last night, already refilling from the diverted flow, then already carrying its silt southward toward the sea, the way it has carried everything southward toward the sea for 10,000 years. The greatest city in the ancient world is still standing. It will stand for centuries more, but it is no longer Babylon. It will never be Babylon again. Thank you for watching Step into History. For a brief moment, you stepped into a world that once existed, a city that shaped history, and lives that felt just as real as ours today. These stories are more than the past. They are echoes of how we lived, built, and understood the world. If you want to continue exploring lost civilizations, subscribe and join the journey. Where should we travel next?